What is going on, guys? Epic Time Lapses here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Ambient Weather Wi-Fi Osprey WS-2902. So you can find this weather station on Amazon for around $140, and you can find it for $120 on Ambient's website. But on Amazon, it is considered, I think it's an Amazon's choice. It's rated 4.6 stars out of 5. So after reading all the reviews, I actually decided to switch from Accurate over to Ambient from reading some of the reviews because of how good some of the people said the switch was and how much more reliable ambient weather stations are compared to Accurate. So in the weather station box, there's some information about the weather station itself, showing you can connect with the Weather Underground and some other online websites. On the back, they'll show you the unit itself and all the different sensors on the weather station itself. So let's now get to the unboxing. Pretty easy to open here. I'll tilt it on the side so I can pull all the contents out. So this is what it looks like inside the box. So inside the box, right on top, you will get the very long instruction manual right here. And then right below that is the actual display. It is covered in wrapping. And then in the box, you will get the outdoor unit right here. You have to manually attach some of the other parts after you take it out of the plastic wrapping. And then right here, you have the wind cups. This is one of the accessories you have to manually put on the weather station. And then right here, I think this is part of the rain gauge that you have to put onto the weather station. And then I think right here, this is for holding the display up if you want to set it down on like a countertop. And then right here is the power brick for the indoor console. And then this is the wind vane for the outdoor unit that you have to manually attach. So now I'm going to set up the weather station and come back a little bit later with the review of the weather station. I've now set up the weather station. Assembling it was very simple. All I had to do was screw the wind cups and the wind vane onto their designated areas with a Phillips head screwdriver. And then the black piece in which the rain gets collected in and funnels down to be measured, all I had to do was put that on and twist it. And those were the only things I had to do to assemble the weather station. In order to set up the outdoor unit, all you have to do is place 2 AA batteries in underneath the weather station. And there is a plastic wrapping thing on top of the solar panel. You just peel that off, and there is a reset button underneath the weather station. You just press that after you've put the batteries in. A red light should come on for 4 seconds and then start blinking every 16 seconds. That is a good sign. That means that the batteries are working properly and data can be transmitted back to the weather station. For mounting the weather station, I bought a 10-foot EMT conduit pole that I screwed to the side of my deck. I would recommend using or buying this type of pole for mounting a weather station if you're mounting it to a deck, because if people come outside and are walking around, it will not move as much as if you bought a PVC pipe, which will wobble a lot with people walking on the deck. I placed the weather station on top of the pole and I screwed it in with the U-bolts that came with the weather station. There are 2 things you need to take into account when you're mounting your weather station. The first is the rain gauge part of the weather station needs to be pointing to the north. There's a little arrow behind the rain gauge to indicate exactly where the weather station should be pointing. You can use your compass on your phone or just an ordinary compass to make sure that the arrow behind the rain gauge is pointing precisely to the north. The second thing is there's a little bubble indicator on top of the weather station, and that will let you know if your weather station is level or not. You must have your weather station as level as possible, because if not, rain gauge readings can be inaccurate. There are a lot of parts that exist on the outdoor unit of the weather station. Right smack in the middle, that big white piece sticking up, is the UV and light sensor. Towards the back right, those are the wind cups. Towards the back left, that is the wind vane. Facing the camera, that black funnel looking thing is where the rain gets funneled down into the measuring cups inside, and that's how it measures the rain. Right underneath that, underneath the radiation shield, is where the temperature and hygrometer unit is that records the temperature and humidity and sends it back to the weather station. This weather station mainly runs on solar power. The batteries are actually backup. As you can see, right behind the rain gauge is where the solar panels are. They take the energy from the sun and use that to power the weather station, and the backup batteries are only used if there's not a lot of sunlight for that day. This is the indoor unit. At the top left, you have the date and the time. Below the date and the time, you have the future forecast and the pressure. Below the pressure, you have the UV reading and the light reading. To the right of those, you have the wind and rain readings. Above that, you have the outdoor temperature and humidity reading, and above that, the indoor temperature and humidity reading. On the indoor unit, there are no physical buttons. All the buttons on the bottom of the indoor console are all touch sensitive. None of them are actually physical buttons. I will now talk about the functions of the indoor unit. I will start from left to right. So on the far left is the settings button. So if you press and hold the settings button, you will get to the settings of the weather station. So the first option that comes up is the beep option. If you would like to turn off that beeping sound every time you press the button, you can turn that off by pressing the plus or minus signs at the bottom to toggle through the different settings. Press the settings button again. I'm not totally 100% sure what this is, but you can change a setting with the maximum and minimum readings. You can turn off and on daylight savings time, select your time zone, 12 or 24-hour clock, and then you can manually select the date and the time. Now, once you connect your indoor unit to the Wi-Fi, it will automatically connect to the correct date and time. And then you have the pressure units. And then for some odd reason, I've noticed in order to calibrate the relative pressure, you have to do it in the settings of the weather station. Normally for any other calibration, you have to go to the calibration settings and adjust it there. But for some odd reason, the relative pressure can only be adjusted in the settings of the weather station, not the calibration settings. You can change units for the light. You can change units for the temperature between Fahrenheit and Celsius, the wind units, rain units, something with the moon phase, and then you're back to the home screen of the weather station. The next option on the bottom is the temperature toggle. See, if you press the temperature button, you can toggle between the wind chill, the dew point, and the heat index. In order to see the rain statistics, you press the rain button to see how much rain you've gotten in that week. Press it again to see how much you've gotten in that month. How much total you've gotten since you've gotten the weather station. The rain rate, how much rain you're predicted to get in an hour based on how much rain is falling at that time and how heavy it is. A rain event, and then you're back to the daily totals. So in order to see the wind statistics, you press the wind button to see the current wind gust, the current wind direction precisely, and then back to the current wind speed. And then there's a little arrow which will show you the wind direction. So on this weather station, there's an option to toggle back and forth between the two different types of pressure that it reads. So if you would like to see the relative or absolute pressure, you press and hold the pressure button for about 2 seconds, and it toggles back and forth between the absolute and relative pressure. So ABS stands for absolute pressure. If you press and hold it again, you get back to the relative pressure readings. If you would like to see the average pressure over a certain amount of time, you just press the pressure button to see the 12-hour average, 24, 48, and 72-hour average for relative or absolute pressure. If you press and hold the pressure button again, you can see the 12, 24, 48, and 72-hour average for absolute pressure also. I've not messed around with this feature a whole lot yet with the weather station, but you can set an alarm that will go off letting you know when the temperature has reached a certain point. Or I think you can just set alarms that will go off at certain times, but again, I have not totally messed around with that feature. If you would like to see the maximum and minimum readings for the weather station, you just press the maximum and minimum button. If you press it once, you will see the maximum readings. If you would like to see the maximum dew point, heat index, or wind chill, you can just toggle through here. Actually, there's no maximum wind chill, so you will just see the heat index and dew point. If you press the maximum and minimum button again, you will see the lows for that day, and then you will see the low wind chill and dew point for that day also. Hit the maximum minimum button again to return to the menu. The far right button on the weather station is the light button. So if you want to control the display brightness, you just hit the button to toggle through high, medium, and then totally no backlight. I have this unplugged, so it is default only on for 15 seconds and then it will shut off. And then you have to hit the light button again to have the light come on in order to see the readings. That's so it can conserve battery life. And if an alarm is going off, you can hit the snooze button to snooze the alarm. In order to get to the calibration settings of the weather station, you press and hold the temperature and maximum and minimum buttons for about 5 seconds. So the first option that comes up for calibration is the indoor temperature. So you can use the plus and the minus signs at the bottom to calibrate the temperature up or down. I'm not going to show that in this video because I do not want to mess up any of the stats. But in order to calibrate it, you just use the plus button and the minus button to take the temperature up or down. You have the indoor humidity you can calibrate, the outdoor temperature, outdoor humidity, the absolute barometric pressure, the wind direction, the wind, rain, daily totals, weekly totals, monthly totals, totals since you've gotten the weather station, and then you're back to the home screen. The only calibration that I had to do on this weather station was for the relative barometric pressure. All the other settings for calibration were already accurate because I looked at some other weather stations in the area and they all seemed very close to the temperature I had coming up on my weather station. So I did not feel like I had to calibrate anything except the relative barometric pressure. I would like to add that all the calibration is done on the indoor console. None of the calibration is done on the outdoor sensor. One of this weather station's greatest abilities is to connect to the internet through Wi-Fi. So in order to connect this weather station to the internet using the Wi-Fi, you have to download the Ambient tool app on an iPhone or an Android device. Once you've downloaded the app, you go into the app and type in your Wi-Fi information, like your Wi-Fi password, click Save, and if it's successful, your weather station should pop up in the app. Now once it's popped up, you click on the weather station, and then they give you the ability to send your data to different web sources such as ambientweather.net, Weather Underground, and there's a few other websites. So I decided to register my weather station with Weather Underground. So in order for you to register your weather station through Weather Underground, you have to go on your computer, go to their website, and register your personal weather station on their website. Once you've done that, they will give you a code and a key that you have to put into the app on Ambient tool. Once you've put that information in and click Save, then within a few minutes, your weather station should start sending data to Weather Underground. I've also set up my weather station on Ambient's network, so I can just go to ambientweather.net and see all my information from my weather station there. One of the cool features that I have found with ambientweather.net is its ability to store historical information. So for any feature that you have on your weather station, such as outdoor temperature, rainfall, wind, pressure, etc., you can see it in the form of a graph. So if you scroll down, you can see the daily temperature, dew point, wind speed, any of that in the form of a graph. You can see it in weekly increments, monthly, and yearly. So it has been really interesting so far to see how the temperature fluctuates throughout the day and all that. Also, you can see it in chart form in, I think it's 5-minute increments. So at 10:10, it'll tell me what the wind speed was, top wind gust, max wind gust, temperature, all that, and it is all stored in 5-minute increments. AmbientWeather.net also gives you the capability to send you text messages or emails on your phone letting you know once the temperature, humidity, etc. has reached a certain point. So what you do is you put in on the website, you put in the parameter that you want. For example, I'll do outdoor temperature, and you can set it up in such a way that if it reaches, or if it's greater than, let's say for example, how about 12 degrees, and hit create, it will then send you a text message every time the temperature is greater than 12 degrees. So it is a really helpful tool if you're gone and you need to know if it's raining a lot or if it's really cold, etc. So I found this feature very helpful so far. There are also some negatives I would like to note in this weather station. First off, there are no bird spikes. I've had some birds land on my weather station a couple of times, and I've been kind of concerned about them messing up the readings, so I wish the weather station came with bird spikes. Second off, there is no way of seeing how much energy is being stored in the solar panels. There is only the current light reading. There's no way of the weather station letting you know if it's using the solar power currently or the backup batteries. Also, I wish the weather station would display the wind peak. On my old Accurate 3-in-1 weather station, it would show you what the highest wind speed had been in that last hour. The wind tends to fluctuate throughout the day, and on here they will only show you the maximum wind speed for the current day. But I wish it would show you what the maximum wind speed has been in that last hour, since the wind does tend to fluctuate throughout the day and change. Finally, I would like to note that on the display of the weather station, there have been some issues. For example, over on the future forecast, it says that the forecast is supposed to be sunny, But you can still kind of see the clouds in the background, and it makes it kind of hard to read. And you have to come up really close to the weather station in order to see what the future forecast really is. Now, would I recommend buying this weather station? Absolutely. It is only $160 on Amazon. The price has actually risen $20 over the last 2 weeks due to its popularity. It is rated 4.6 stars out of 5 on Amazon. The Wi-Fi connectivity and the features are absolutely worth it for this price. Also, if you have any problems with the weather station, I would recommend calling Ambient Weather. They are very helpful, and they actually helped me get through some internet problems I was having on my weather station. This now concludes the video. I would like to say thanks for watching, everyone, and please subscribe because I will be coming out with more amazing epic time lapses in the near future. Thanks.